3 horrifying hiking encounters caught on camera. 3 journeys, 3 vanishings narrowly avoided. One thing connects them all. You're never alone out there. The first time I saw him, he ran. The second time, he spoke. The third time, he left a message. I should have listened when the locals said Greywater Ridge doesn't like visitors. I was camping deep in the backwoods near Greywater Ridge in 2016. No trails, no markers, just an old dirt road that vanished into trees and silence. I'd wanted to disappear for a weekend, and I guess I got my wish. The second night, I woke up to something moving outside my tent. It wasn't an animal. Too slow, too deliberate. I unzipped the flap just a little, and there was a man sitting by the remains of my fire. No bag, no light, just a stranger staring into the ashes like he'd been there for hours. When he noticed me watching, his whole face changed, like he'd seen something he shouldn't have. Then he bolted, straight into the trees. I sat frozen for what felt like forever, listening to his footsteps fade into the dark. By morning, I tried to tell myself he was lost or high or something that made sense, but deep down, I knew he wasn't. 2 days later, I hiked nearly 15 miles in a completely different direction. By dusk, I'd set up camp beside a small stream. Everything felt still, too still. Then came that sound again. I called out, "Hello?" And a voice answered, "Do you know how to get to Hollow Creek?" I froze. There was no Hollow Creek around Greywater Ridge. The voice stayed hidden in the dark, asking strange random questions like we were in a conversation. I tried shining my flashlight towards it, but the voice snapped, "Turn that away!" Something in the way he said it made my stomach twist. He sounded closer each time he spoke. When the silence stretched too long, I flicked the beam back toward the sound. The same man from 2 nights ago. He stared for half a heartbeat, then ran again. I didn't follow. That night, I barely slept, and at sunrise, I packed up to leave. 3 days back to the car, 3 days of watching the trees move when the wind didn't. The first night on the way out, I heard slow steps circling the tent. By the time I looked, nothing. The second night, I heard a voice, faint, almost whispering through the trees. Not words, just the sound of someone breathing where no one should be. On the third morning, I reached the edge of the forest. My car was still there, covered in dew. I unlocked it, threw my pack inside, and saw something on the windshield. A handprint, perfectly clear, fresh, but my windows had been wiped clean the day I left. I don't know who he was or what he wanted, but when I looked down at my pack, there was something inside that hadn't been there before. A small piece of paper, folded once, damp in the night air. It said, "You went the wrong way." People think the worst part is being chased, but it's not. It's hearing someone running behind you and realizing they're faster. Raven's Hollow made sure I never hiked alone again. It was just another Saturday afternoon. I wanted to clear my head, so I decided to walk the Raven's Hollow Trail, a quiet stretch of woods I'd hiked plenty of times before. Normally my friend came with me, but that day he was working. I figured it'd be fine. The parking lot was empty, not a single car. I parked at the far end anyway, locked up, and headed down the path. The air was still, heavy with that earthy smell after rain. The main trail ran straight for about a mile before curving uphill, but I wasn't planning to go that far. There was a small turnoff about 400 yards in, an old side trail that led to an abandoned lot near the lake. That's where I was headed. When I turned on the side path, everything felt normal, but the incline section was loose gravel. Every step echoed like the sound carried too far. Halfway up, I heard it. Something was moving in the woods to my right. Slow, heavy, deliberate. I stopped. The sound stopped too. My stomach dropped. I told myself it was a deer, maybe a raccoon. I forced a laugh and kept walking. But when I reached the top of the incline, it started sprinting toward me. I froze, couldn't breathe. Then I saw him, a man, barreling through the trees, eyes locked on me. Something glinted in his right hand. A knife. I turned and ran, slipping on the gravel, barely keeping my balance. Behind me, his boots hammered the trail. "Get back here!" he shouted. His voice was sharp, furious, close. I didn't look back until I hit the main trail. My legs were shaking. I sprinted straight for the parking lot, every sound amplified. The crunch of gravel, my breath, my heart slamming in my chest. I reached my car, threw myself inside, started it, and when I looked up, he was standing at the trail entrance, watching me, half in the shade, knife in his hand. As I reversed, he smiled, that cold, deliberate smile, and raised his hand to wave. I hit the highway doing 70 and didn't look back once. I told the police, and they searched the trail. No one was found, no footprints, no sign of anyone at all. I never went back. Even now, when I drive past Raven's Hollow at dusk, I slow down and stare at the trail entrance. And the thought that won't leave me is simple and sharp. Was he a one-time predator, or is someone still standing there, waiting for the next person who thinks the woods are safe? They say the forest doesn't chase, it lingers. It watches until your guard slips, and that's when it decides you've stayed too long. The summer after high school, I decided to hike the Pacific Crest Trail. It was supposed to be a test of freedom, the kind of thing you do when you're young enough to think nothing bad can happen. I started from the Mexico border and made it all the way into Northern California. I dealt with snakes, heat, dehydration, but nothing scared me. Until Lassen National Forest. I came around a bend and saw two people sitting on a rock, both dressed head to toe in white. Their clothes were dirty, their faces pale and blank. The man had a beard like he hadn't spoken to civilization in years. They just stared at me. Didn't wave, didn't smile. I said, "Hello." Nothing. Just two sets of eyes tracking me as I passed. That night I camped a few hundred yards off the trail. I hung my food high like always, but by morning it was gone. At first I thought bear, but then I saw the footprints. Boot prints, 2 pairs, circling my campsite. One of them led right up to the tree where the food had been hanging. I packed up fast, told myself they were just hungry hikers, but the idea stuck with me all day. A few nights later, I woke to the sounds of sticks breaking, then whispering. Not words I could make out, just breathy voices moving around my tent. I gripped my knife and stayed still, waiting for the zipper to move. Nothing. Just silence. When daylight came, I checked the ground. The same boot prints. By the time I reached Shasta Forest, I thought I'd lost them. But then, far ahead across the ridge, I saw them again. 2 white dots following the curve of the mountain. That's when I said aloud, "This trip's over." The nearest town was still 25 miles away. I hiked until nightfall, then went deep off trail to camp. But I couldn't sleep. Every sound felt close. Then came the whispering, the crunch of footsteps, and finally, a flashlight. It lit up my entire tent, then went dark. I burst out, yelling nonsense, waving my knife into the dark. Something moved in the corner of my vision, fast. I ran. Branches tore at me. I fell, rolled, crawled under a downed tree, and stayed there until birds started singing. When the sun rose, I walked straight until I hit the highway. The police said other campers had their food stolen in those woods, but no one else said they were followed. No one else saw the couple in white. Sometimes I still dream of whispering outside my window, and when I wake up, I swear I can see white fabric moving just beyond the trees.